Good evening. Welcome to the December 2nd, 2019 meeting of the Zoning Subcommittee of the Revere City Council. Madam Clerk, call the roll, please.
Roll call of the members of the Zoning Subcommittee. Councilor Janino? Here. Here. Councilor Keefe?
Here.
Here. Councilor Novoselsky is absent. Councilor Rizzo is absent. And Chairman Zambudo?
Here.
Here. Quorum is present.
Okay.
First item on the agenda is a telecommunication special permit application from Cellco Partnership DBA Verizon Wireless. This is for the location near 10 Walnut Avenue.
Welcome.
Thanks. Sure. Yep. Michael Jaimo, representing Verizon Wireless, as the applicant. And I'm wondering, Mr. Chairman, if it would make sense, even though we have three separate locations, if we made a presentation related to all of them. And
You can certainly give a presentation related to all of them. We did the separate presentations at the public hearing, and this is just more an informational meeting tonight. I think I was told that you don't have your experts here tonight, so we're going to do that at a follow-up meeting. Is that correct?
we don't have any experts here, but we do have a lot of the information you asked for,
Okay.
including a handout about the RF safety.
Great.
And antenna and a lot of pictures.
Okay, great. Well, that's good. Okay.
So
Proceed.
Sure. And so what's up on the, because there was a lot of confusion about what exactly we're talking about here. So what's up on the easel there is a picture of an actually installed 5G pole attachment, small cell in Pawtucket, Rhode Island. So that's what they look like, the antenna cluster at the top of the pole. Very similar to what they look like in Revere, because these utility poles do have, some of them have lights on them like that. And we've got other examples of different 4G and 5G installations. I have some handouts here, and through the clerk, I'd like to distribute some of those. First is a set of, these are the cities and towns in Massachusetts that where small cell antennas on utility poles or light poles have been approved already and installed. And it's really a very large proportion of the state, including Revere, including Cambridge, Boston, and all the cities and towns around here. This is, this next handout I have here has to do with the questions people asked about the RF safety the last time. This is just a handout on that. As you mentioned, we did not, it was a short week, obviously, with the holiday. We were not able to get somebody to show up today, but if, through the clerk, if I could ask those. And these are not collated, unfortunately, so I've got like four separate photos, if that's okay, yep. Those are additional 5G pictures of installations. I think those are also in Pawtucket. They're different, but they're very similar because it's a very similar kind of installation in each case, kind of a standard design. So Councilor Keefe last week asked to see what the antenna looks like. This is what the antenna looks like. And you can see that. Okay, so these are mounted at the top of the utility pole. No, it's an antenna. It's an antenna. The actual ones they're using now are a little smaller than this.
Sir, On those antennas, is it one per installation, or is there a cluster? You said there's a cluster. Is it just one antenna, or is there a few of those on the
Yeah,
installation?
it's two of these panels like
Okay.
that, and is there a pole sometimes too? I mean, an extension.
Thank you.
So he's saying two or sometimes three at the top of the pole, depending on what the coverage is or what they're trying to accomplish with these sites.
Okay. Well, thanks for bringing it.
Excuse me?
Thank you for providing it. Appreciate it.
I think this guy, he lugged it here, Eric. So the other thing we did is we put together a handout of the locations. I know there were questions last week about why these particular poles were selected instead of other poles. And we do have some handouts that address that issue, but if one of you would want to address sort of the process you went through on the site selection, would you be able to do that? Yes. Okay, so Mike, if I could ask Mike Fox, who's one of the real estate consultants for Verizon and participated in the site search for these locations, to explain what that process is.
Yep. Michael Fox, real estate consultant, SAI Communications. So the availability of poles that we can use is very limited due to existing transformers, existing equipment on the pole. So, like I said, very limited to the poles that we can use. The poles that were in question, one mainly on Crystal Ave, that's in the pamphlet there. It was really the only pole that RF could use in Verizon, would work for Verizon. So again, very limited to essentially that one pole.
Mike, can I just walk you through the process? So you mentioned the RF, so there's RF engineers who work for Verizon Wireless. They design these networks.
Yep.
And they put out a request to find coverage in a certain area. Mm-hmm. And that's when they hand it off to you to find a pole to locate on?
Correct. And the reason why they selected this area down in Crystal Ave, it's a little bit lower, and service isn't the greatest down there.
Okay.
So it's based on what the service needs, is that correct? Is that what I'm understanding?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Service needs and connecting to the rest of the network.
Right. Okay. Council McKenna.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Does this poll also cover a part of Winthrop, too? I'm just asking.
Not that I'm aware of, no.
Okay, thank you.
These
Council Powers.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Sir, I have two questions. First of all, how does these installations affect current services with regard to being more positive? Do they, or
would they improve service? Is that
exactly? Yeah.
They would improve service. They'd also be able to provide more robust service, different service that's forthcoming as people develop new applications for wireless service. This is a more robust application.
Well, we're talking about 3 installations tonight. Am I correct?
The 3 installations tonight, right? And
Okay.
they fit into a network of existing sites around the area.
Okay. And what does the future look like with regard to more of these things, these antennas being requested in the city? Are we talking about just 3 installations?
No, I think you'll see more
Well,
antennas
when we say
requested.
see more, how many are we going to see?
I don't know.
So nobody can answer that question?
Hi, Eric Campbell. I'm here on behalf of Verizon Wireless. I work for SAI Communications. When we evaluate an area and a site, in these particular ones that were chosen, we walked the site with the engineer. The engineer chose the poles in the specific area that we were looking at. With reference to future sites and future applications, we make those applications to the pole owners, and then they come back and tell us whether or not that pole is available to us or it's not. So we're in the process of evaluating poles and also making application to see which ones will be made available to us and which ones will not be.
Pole owners being Verizon, am I correct?
Verizon and Ngrid. So we apply to both.
But the thing I would like to have an answer on is how many of these are we anticipating in the future?
We do anticipate more.
I've heard that more before. I'd like to know how many.
At this time, we can't give you an exact number. We are making applications and we are applying. Some of those applications get rejected because the pole has other uses or they have someone else already applied for it. We did run into that in one instance where we applied for a pole and someone else took that space. And then there's other considerations like the attachments on the pole, if there's too many rises, if there's a planned transformer, if there's other attachments that are going to be there, and even the spacing. We have to make sure that there's adequate spacing for the equipment and the safety spacing for electrical and other uses.
And
So-
also RCN, as you know, is doing installations also, or has done them in the city just recently.
Correct, so they'll give us that feedback and they'll let us know, if that's something that's going to impede us from going forward, or if we have to look elsewhere and choose another pole.
I would feel more comfortable knowing how further forward we're going to go with these things. Thank you.
Council President Granasso.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. It's my understanding, after doing some review, that the real nature of the request is that you want to be in competition with Comcast from the RCNs in terms of the cable business, the product that they're sending out to the viewers, meaning YouTube, podcasts, and programming of all those nature. And so you want it seems like Verizon wants to get into that, a little piece of the action on that. I read that in Business World, and it tells me that this is a little enhancement on obviously, the quality of the service. And I, by the way, have Verizon, and I don't have any problem with it right now. So I just think that this is obviously, on behalf of Verizon, this is a business tool, and you're getting it, and Verizon is flexing its muscle and its finances to go into a little bit different venture to diversify a bit. Isn't that true?
No, this is not a cable application. This is wireless application. This is an evolution of what you're used to with your phones and the data services that you have now on your phones. This is just the next phase in that, and it would have.
So this has nothing to do with what I just said?
I don't know if it has nothing to do with it.
Because everybody's talking
but you
5G is the new thing of the future, and
it's much faster than 4G. That's the technology of it. But you can get video on your phones now, right? On 4G.
yeah. So so it has nothing to do with podcasts, YouTube, and all that stuff, all the other stuff that is offered.
It would still be able to get, just like you can get on your phones now, podcasts and video. It's just a faster speed and basically a broader band of communications. The spectrum is different, and it's not just Verizon that's doing this. This is something that all the wireless carriers that have that those licenses and that spectrum, they're doing that. We're competing with other carriers in Boston and other places.
You gave us this list here, sir.
Yep.
And on this list, it states that Revere has it, and it says that the town of Weston has it. Now, I know Weston is taking the terms of, there was a 5G installed on a school, or near a school, and they had it removed because it was, they proved some sort to have it removed because it was injurious to some people in the area. The children were developing cancer and stuff like that.
Yeah,
now, I'm not sure if the facts are all there, but that's a fact that what Weston did. And what we did locally, and you're also selling it, Revere has it, the Revere Fire Department came up in full force. And we had one up on the tower on Central Fire, and we had that removed. Based on the request of the fire department that they don't want to be feet away from this. And some of them even made mention to the fact that if a fire is ongoing and a pole's right near a fire, that certain things could happen there to make it unhealthy for the neighborhood and for the inhabitants of that location. And the firefighters fighting the fire. You keep looking at him. Why are you looking at him? I'm talking to you.
I'm looking at you. These installations are going to be on utility poles, right? So.
Oh, I know. If you watch yesterday's football game, every other advertisement on TV was about 5G. So there's something more coming to it that's being told to people of the everywhere, over and beyond efficiency product that it gives to our cell phones. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
I know, Mr.
Council
Chairman, it's
President.
not proven, and I know that in 20 years, we'll probably all light up because nothing's been
Well,
proven yet.
You know, I like to think this is a progressive council here. We banned plastic bags, one of the first cities, but we're against technology here, so I'm a little confused. Council McKenna.
Excuse me. Thank you. Again, Mr. Chairman, I have a couple of questions for you. First of all, is it true that the last people that were up here trying to present the 5Gs, they said you couldn't be in 60 feet of it because of some sort of microwave radiation or microwave something? Is that true?
I don't know what the last people who were up here said. We submitted something with our applications that shows you the range for workers who might be having to climb the pole, what the distance is that's considered to be within 20% of what the federal government allows, and what's under 20% of what the federal government allows.
And why is that?
If it's even within 20% of what the federal government allows, that area is something where we've got a process for people saying, we need to do work on the pole, we'll turn the pole off.
I think you just answered all of our questions. All these towns and cities that you gave us, are they all 5Gs, or you're saying they're Verizon Wireless small cell installations? Is it 3Gs, 2Gs, 4Gs, or are they all 5Gs?
Those are pole attachment installations, so they're probably mostly 4Gs at this point.
Right.
Boston, I think, has some 5Gs.
Right.
We know Pawtucket, Rhode Island does. There's a list of regions that have had that.
But what I'm asking you is that these are not all 5G.
Not today. Not today, but
Not today, but they're not all 5G. They don't have all 5Gs on them. They have wireless small cell installations, so they could have 2Gs, 3Gs, 4Gs, and they say 4Gs aren't that bad. This is the whole thing. You give me scientific data from World Health Organization, American Cancer Society, the Federal Communication Commission. I need to see the data on the scientific, I just can't say that, okay, this is from experts. I need to read the data. And what I think is that I don't think there's enough data for or against. I don't think there's enough data, period. And I don't want to see the same thing that happened, I said this last week, I don't want to see the same thing that happened with vaping happen. 6 months ago, we didn't know the consequences of vaping. Now people are dying, people are sick, because there was no data. So I don't know. I just can't go. You're putting this in a neighborhood. You're putting it against a conservation area. It's heavily impacted with residents. I just don't think it belongs in a neighborhood. Put it somewhere else. Put it in the parking lot. Put it somewhere else, but don't put it down the street of a neighborhood because it's convenient, because some engineer said, oh, wow, well, let's put it down here because this is the best reception. These people have to live here. Let's put it across the street from your house and see how you like it. Or your house. Oh, but
fine.
Why don't we decide tonight we should put it somewhere else? These people are all up here. They don't want it in front of their house. They don't want it abutting their house. They don't want it in the neighborhood. And I have letters that I'd like the clerk to read from residents that couldn't make it tonight. Thank you.
We can submit it to the record. Councilor Janino.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My colleague stated a lot of what I was thinking, so I don't want to be repetitive, but essentially we don't have a lot of information on this, whether it's harmful or not, and that's concerning to me. But legally as a council, there's not much control we have over this, but there is one thing that we do have, and it's aesthetics. And I can tell you aesthetically, I would not want this outside of my bedroom window, or across from my kitchen window, or outside of my home. So aesthetically, I don't believe this is the right application for a neighborhood, and that is something the city council can say and can do. Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you, Councilor Janino. You want to
And just to comment on that, this is the aesthetics you're talking about, the antennas on top of that wooden pole. So I don't think that objection would hold up if it needed to be tested in terms of what this technology is. This is not an overwhelming technology. You have many poles in the city of Revere with a lot more stuff on them, traditional electric equipment and other things. So I think it's obvious why you're taking that position, but I just don't think there's any support for that any legal support for that comment.
At this point, do you have any more that you want to present? Any more information? You certainly gave us enough information. I've done my own little research, and I believe that these antennas are about probably less harmful than holding this to my ear. So I'm sure I have one. I'm sure I have one right across the street from my house, sir. But
Right 4 feet from my deck.
okay. Okay, we're gonna probably continue this because I think we're gonna have another presentation at the next meeting. Is that correct, or?
I don't know. If you need another presentation, I suppose we could. On the RF issue, we understand people have questions, but as was pointed out already, the federal government has established what those standards are, so.
I understand all the legality, and you're well within the legal standards, and aside from something very aesthetically unpleasing, this city council will have no jurisdiction in refusing these things. That's what a lot of people don't understand, that this is a federally regulated industry, and there's strict guidelines, and like the gentleman said, when somebody's going to go work on this pole, if they're working on a piece that's 20% less than the 100% that's allowed, they shut them off so there's no chance. And that's in the taking it to the extreme. And in other words, the science says that it's not harmful, but just so they're not working within the 100% allowed guidelines, they shut it off at 20%. I think that's what I heard here. If I
Yes.
misinterpreted that, I'm sorry. But I know that I guess what I'm going to do is have a show of hands from my friends and neighbors that are against this. We already know that. We had a public hearing here. We heard from most of you. So we're not going to get into a whole night of everybody airing their grievance against technology. This is not a public hearing. We had a public hearing. Okay, all right. I'm going to allow some evidence that was supposed to be delivered here.
Okay. Good evening, everyone.
Name and address for the record, please.
I would rather be anonymous because I watch too many action movies
That's
like
not,
Chuck Norris.
Excuse me, sir.
Like
That's
Charlie
not how this
Bronson.
works.
I don't want to be
that's not how this-
retarded.
That's not how that works here.
My name is Julian He. I'm a current resident of Crystal Avenue.
That's good enough.
And I strongly oppose this, as I made myself clear
Right.
last session.
Yes.
And tonight, I came, per your request, I have scientific evidence, scientific papers.
Give it to the clerk, please, and let's see it.
Wait a minute, I will give it to you. I promise, I will email every counselor.
I guess I'm not running this meeting.
I will email every counselor the copy of all the scientific evidence to show us, give evidence that
If
it
I
is
can interrupt you,
scientifically.
sir, can you tell us the source of your evidence?
The source is from the Journal of Environmental Research. The title of one of the papers I bring up today is "The Human Skin at the Sub-Terahertz Receiver. Does 5G pose a danger to it or not?" And the answer is yes. First of all, I'd like to thank you all the counselors who bring up all those wonderful questions. That's what we should ask. That's one of them. I'll give it to you. But before I give it to you, I want to recite here.
I'd like to know what you're reading from, sir. Could I please have a copy?
Yes. Yes, of course. You can have the copy.
Thank you
And I
very
have
much.
other copies. And I have some copies regarding the school. This is from
This is
another.
research. This is not scientific data, but go continue.
What do you define the scientific data? This is a scientific research.
Proven
published
data, sir. Proven data.
Do you
Proven
have
factual
do you
science?
have proof the data
Factual
to show that
science and data.
5G is no harm to human body? Do you have that part? Do they have? Well, of course. The Verizon have well equipped it today. That's why I'm afraid of retaliation. I don't want that happening.
You're not
So
gonna
that's
get-
why I try to be anonymous.
Who's going to retaliate against you?
See, they print a lot, but I cannot afford to print a lot. I only print one copy, and I promise I will email everyone the copy of it.
Thank you very much for your input. I appreciate it.
So we should continue to discuss this. Are you going to vote tonight
No.
to see?
This is staying in committee. We're not voting tonight.
Then why you can't give us more chances to speak about it, to debate about this?
Sir, I asked you to bring some data. You did. It's a
Yeah.
research paper. It's not scientific data, but that's okay. Any input is helpful. I'm going to study this. I'm going to make a decision
Motion
later.
to-
I'm going to talk with my colleagues.
Point of information,
And
point of privilege. Can we
State
vote
your
on
point.
this tonight, please?
no,
What do you mean by this is a research, not a scientific data? I really couldn't understand.
okay.
Everybody knows 5G, right? Everybody knows basics.
Point of
Everybody knows
privilege.
history, right? Everybody knows
listen.
history.
Point of privilege, please.
Let's do not use
Council McKenna,
science
state
or
your point.
scientific
I would like
words.
to
No,
overrule
those
my
type of
motion.
words.
I would like to
To
overrule
fuzzy this
you
around this
saying
about
no.
it. Let's use
I would like to
common
vote for this
sense.
tonight. Excuse me, sir.
The chair-
For 1 minute, because we can't have three people talking. I'm making a motion to, I would like to overrule the chair.
She's asking for a roll call to overrule the chair.
I'd like a roll call to overrule the chair.
Let me state before we call the roll, I just want to inform my colleagues, and I think most of you know.
I know, we already know that.
No, let me speak now. I've had enough, okay? There's no decorum here. You're dictating what we're going to do here. You want to overrule the chair, that's fine. I want my colleagues and I want everybody in this audience to know that if we vote this down, we're breaking federal law. Now, I've sworn an oath to obey the law. I'm not going to break federal law here tonight, or any law tonight, by voting against a 5G antenna. So now, if you want to overrule the chair, you're welcome to do that, but I have to give you that information that you are breaking the law. So go right ahead and do what you want.
Point of information. Councilor Chairman Zambuto,
Yes.
may I just state some of my case here, please?
Go right ahead.
Thank you. And I want to make sure that everyone in the council and the viewing audience knows that we always respect what you do, Councilor Zambudo. You do a very good job of running your chairmanship, and we would never want to put you in a situation. I understand your feelings where you know there's an FCC guideline and some of it rules that city councils can't say no. I just wanted to make sure for clarification, many of the councilors, I don't think that we should drag this out. I don't think that a lot of our opinions are going to change, much like yours probably isn't going to change, and we totally respect that. I want to make sure that everyone knows that my rationale mostly hinges on the point that I think that they're very unsightly and they don't do anything from an aesthetic value to the neighborhood. So I would like to vote on this tonight. I know that you're not in favor of it, but I think the members of the council and the members of the residents inside the council chambers deserve to have a vote, and we could probably just handle that tonight rather than continue to drag it out. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Well, I'm gonna appreciate your point of information, but where you're wrong is that this is going to drag it out a lot more than it would have been dragged out, because it's going to end up in court and we're going to lose. And we're going to be the laughingstock. And that's okay, if that's what you want to do. I'm not going to participate in being a laughingstock and going against the law. So you can do that, and my colleagues can all do that, but I'm not going to take it kindly.
So, I just want to make a...
Call the roll.
short point, okay?
Councilor Patch. Councilor Patch.
Okay, last week you asked that we bring...
Name and address for the record.
David LaChapelle. I'm at 95 Summer Street, on the corner of Crystal and Summer. So last week you asked that we come back for this meeting. So we had 6 people. Now we have 25 neighbors here, and we're all opposed to this. On the aesthetic note, we live on a beautiful Belle Isle marsh, and we love it. Some of these people have been here for 4 generations. Now, these residents are going to have their homes devaluated because of this, and they don't want it. The bottom line is they do not want it in their neighborhood. Let them put it over in Bott's Court or Marblehead or somewhere like that. But they do not want 5G here. And this gentleman was right. This is preparation for Suffolk Downs. This is what it's all about. This whole 5G thing is, they're not conspiracy theories. There's a huge development in the Revere right now. And this is the groundwork for that development. And our little neighborhood is not part of that. We're going to have to live with that. And we're going to have to live with this. And we don't want it. Now, I don't know where the conservationists are, but we have a beautiful piece of wilderness marsh. An aesthetically beautiful piece. We walk it, we love it, we clean it. And we don't want it ruined. And we don't want this 5G pole there. There's a gentleman here who suffered cancer twice. It's going in front of his porch. This guy, myself, and many of my neighbors were public servants. I was a court officer. We got 2 firemen here and other public servants. We've already served. We're retired. We want peace. And we want our neighborhood to be our neighborhood. And all of these people here are opposed to it. So know that.
Point of
your
information.
vote.
Thank you. Thank you for your input, sir. Thank you. Appreciate it. Who has a point? Go, Councilor Patch, go ahead.
All right, I was going to tell the speaker that we're going to vote on this tonight anyway, so I'm glad I got in here. I'm not on the committee, but I just want to state, I mean, the last time we had the same controversy, I believe I got a certified mail that my colleagues and myself were getting sued from the communication company. And I don't know where that stands. That was quite a while ago. We all voted no, and that's where it stands. I don't know where it stands today, because we weren't informed. I had never been informed since then.
I put a point of information, Councilor. We never voted on a 5G antenna.
Yes, we did. It was Beach Spot. All right, again, Mr. Chairman, I agree with your opinion, you know, and it doesn't matter what our opinion is. The federal government, the government, wait, whoa. You had we're into time here. The federal government
we fought the battle. I think we're still fighting the battle, but I don't know. I agree with, people that we should decide our own fate here, but it ain't gonna happen. We're gonna vote anyways tonight, and we'll probably vote, I think the majority is gonna vote no, but, again, all right? So calm down. All right.
On the motion to override?
It's a motion to overrule, not override, overrule the chair. What's that? And to report these out tonight against the wishes of the chairman.
Roll call of the committee members, Counselor Janino?
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Keefe?
Respectfully, yes.
Yes, Counselor Novoselsky?
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Rizzo is absent. Counselor Guanasso? Yes. Yes, and Chairman Zambudo?
No.
No, the 3 special permit applications regarding 5G small cell antennas will be forwarded to the full city council for a vote.
That ends the zoning subcommittee for December 2nd, 2019. Thank you for your attendance. Not respectfully, that's an oxymoron. It's an oxymoron.
Good evening, and welcome to the Revere City Council meeting for the Monday meeting of December 2nd, 2019. Will those members in the audience please join with the Revere City Council in a salute to our flag. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call of the members, Councilor Janino.
Here.
Here, Councilor Keefe.
Here.
Here, Councilor McKenna.
Here.
Here, Councilor Morabito.
Here.
Here, Councilor Novoselsky. Here, Councilor Patch.
Here.
Here, Councilor Powers. Here, Councilor Rizzo is absent. Councilor Rotundo is absent. Councilor Zambuto.
Here.
Here, and Council President Guanasso.
Here.
Here, a quorum is present. Calendar item number 2, approval of
Madam
the journal.
Clerk, prior to this evening's meeting, I have, unfortunately, some members of our community have passed, and I think it goes that we would recognize these people because they were active participants within the community, and they certainly, one particular person named Cindy Tatelman, she was one of the first directors of Handicap Affairs, which, and she did a great job at no fee to the community of Revere. And I announced that unfortunately, Cindy Tatelman has passed, and the former plumbing inspector, Bob Missiano's wife, Carol, has passed this past week. And another gentleman who's known to everybody in the community, Anthony Michella, sister Teresa, has passed this week. So would you please rise with us and join the City Council in a moment of silence for these three wonderful people? Thank you. And while we're on that, another note is that the City of Revere has announced that as of 8 o'clock tonight, there'll be a parking ban. So that'll be enforced as of 8 o'clock tonight. You do have they have a plan in place where you can go to the Wonderland garage and park for $5 overnight. So that plan is in place. We have a 8 o'clock parking ban in the City of Revere with the impending storm that's coming up, and that will be this evening. And I don't believe there's school in the City of Revere, but there is no school in the City of Revere also. So, thank you, Madam Clerk.
Calendar item number 2, approval of the journal of the regular meeting of November 25th, 2019.
So moved.
So moved.
Calendar item number 3, Fire, Comcast, National Grid, RCN, and Verizon will conduct a joint utility company meeting for the purpose of discussing, including but not limited to, double poles and trench work.
Now, here's a fine member of Verizon who takes our abuse once a month, and he really does a great job representing the City Council to the needs that we have here. State your name and address for the record, please.
Sure. Stan Yusevich, Verizon, with offices at 63 High Street in Danvers. Unfortunately, my colleague from Comcast couldn't make it. I think that she has sent out an email to everyone. I've not heard from Ngrid. But the latest report that I had sent out November 20th showed 130 double poles. I did pull the report this morning, and the double pole number is down to 125. Currently, Comcast is working to get their numbers down and get them into our court. As soon as they do, we'll take care of them. I know that RCN is a new venture here, and they've been very cooperative. They work hand in hand with us in terms of double poles. We do have a problem, and that is the non-participating municipal fiber that might be up, and we've been trying to coordinate with the city so that they can be notified of the removal, because right now it's being held up because there's no one listed for that fiber. So we'll work through, I think it's your IT department for the most part. It may also involve the school department they tend to have their own network as well. But the numbers, I think, are very good, and I'll take whatever questions you might have.
I noticed that fire has been invited to attend tonight's meeting, and there's no membership there. And we still have a problem with some of the locations that within our own community, we can't get these off of the poles.
Well, to tell you the truth, Mr. President, that they're all pretty evenly distributed, which means that when they're moving off the top of the pole and then getting into fire department queue, they're trying to address them as quickly as possible.
Okay,
it's when you see the large numbers that are disproportional that someone's not moving, and it seems to me that the fire department is addressing these. They may have moved a number of these that aren't logged in, and as soon as they do, the next person in line will be notified, so.
That's great. That's great. That's good to hear, because we want to know that our team is also working with you, because we have a common objective is to get rid of all these double poles.
Exactly.
Any members of the council wishing to speak? Councilor Novoselsky.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, through you to Stan and actually everybody. 9 years ago is when we started this joint meetings.
Correct.
And that was based on, there was some of the utility companies and the city Revere had no clue about the system that they had of keeping track and what passes on to the next and whose ballpark it's in, ball court. Now, I think it's time that we had a meeting with all these utility companies because of RCN, because of the City Revere IT department, if they're the ones that are involved. And I believe there's even some communication cable from the police department. And I think we ought to clear that up and call for a meeting after the first of the year, bring everybody on board, make sure everybody has access to your system, or the system. And they can go in and click it on and everybody knows whose ball court they're in next. And I think we ought to think about that for right after the first of the year and have everybody, it doesn't have to be at our meeting here, it could be at a subcommittee meeting, it could be a meeting during the day that, you know, some of the councilors are around, that we have everybody together. But I remember meeting, and I remember it was with Mayor Ambrosino.
Correct. Yep.
You know, and we were in there, you know, with Stan and Dan and the people from Comcast. And I think it's time we had this to bring things up to date with there's so many new companies on board with these wires. So that would be my recommendation.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor McKenna.
Thank you, Mr. President. So one of the biggest problems around Revere are, and we just, I don't know where the wires are coming from, but it's either RCN is cutting the wires of Comcast or they're cutting telephone wires. So what's happening is they're not removing the wires, they're just wrapping them around poles. You wouldn't see this in Newton, you know, you just wouldn't. So I do have pole numbers and addresses where these wires are wrapped around the pole, and I do have a resident that has the wire in his yard. We don't know if it's a Comcast wire, we don't know if it's a Verizon wire, a telephone wire. So is there anyone that could check in your
if you
company?
could email me the addresses.
Yes, and the pole numbers?
Yeah, and the poll numbers, that would be great, and I'll put them in the hands of our people as well as Comcast and RCN.
Okay.
So that everybody can get a look at them. And what might be great is if, in the future, if someone calls you, ask them to take a picture of it.
I have pictures.
Great. If you could include those, that would be
Sure.
terrific.
I only have the poll numbers, I don't
Okay.
have the addresses.
Poll numbers are more important than the address.
Okay, thank you.
Councilor Powers.
Thank you, Mr. President. Stan, I don't know if you recall, but about a month ago, 6 weeks ago, we spoke regarding a pole that had been hit down on Woodland Road at the corner of View Street, in front of Mrs. Tweet's house. And we were looking at getting a recommendation from someone who could do that underground service there, if it has to be done. We're not even sure if it has to be done. And so we could get that pole out of there, and look at the pole. I mean, to me, it's in danger of falling over. It was hit pretty bad.
What number Woodland is that, Counselor?
I believe it's around 70. It's on the right-hand side, going down. There's only about 10 houses on the street.
Right.
And this pole is very obvious. It's just, a car hit it and caused some serious damage to it.
All right, I'll bring this to Ingrid because they set the poles.
Okay.
With part of this agreement or part of the process that we brought in, as the counselor pointed out 9 years ago, it seemed to us that rather than for Verizon to set the pole and then come back and take it out after everyone's gone, Ingrid had agreed to set the pole because they have to come off first.
Yeah.
So it's a better and cleaner process.
They come off first and they go back on first.
Correct.
Okay.
And so we're last off and we take the wood, as you know. But I'll take this to Ingrid tomorrow morning.
While you're talking with Ingrid, 25 Norman Street, they did a gas service out there. They left about a...
Counselor, I really can't speak for Ingrid on gas issues.
Okay.
He's Verizon.
Yeah.
No, I understand he's Verizon, I understand that. But when you said you would be speaking with Ingrid...
Yeah, I'll run this 25 Malden Street.
No, 25 Norman Street.
Norman.
The shut-off is depressed about 3 inches. It has to be raised, and it has to be, because there's an elderly woman that lives in the house, and she has a very difficult time navigating the area there, and if she falls on this, it's going to be a serious problem. The hole is about, in circumference, probably 6 inches and about 3 inches in depth.
Has Dan been made aware of this, Dan Cameron?
He has, as far, because they come out and they repaved it, but they left the hole there. They should have raised the service, and,
All right, I'll ask him to take a look at it and get back to you on it.
Thank you.
Councilor Morabito.
Thanks. I just want to add a few comments while we're talking about this. I agree with my colleague, Councilor Novoselsky, when it comes to having a joint meeting between RCM, Comcast, National Grid, all these poles, wires hanging. I think there's so many providers that we need to get together and come up with an action plan, because there are a lot of wires hanging from poles. I actually have one on my phone. It's 470 Malden Street. I'm not sure who the cables belongs to, and I think that's where the problem starts, because a lot of people see wires. They don't know how to look at a pole number to see if it's National Grid, Verizon, Comcast, whoever it is. So I think that's a start. Second was that issue, 470 Malden Street. It's around that location. And I'll show you a picture after the meeting.
Yeah, you can send it to me on email. That would be great.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. I will tell you that I think what's very important is to have city departments as part of that discussion too, because as the council pointed out, we have almost a third, or just about a quarter, I guess, of the poles that, or the entity that's holding up the poles are municipal fiber or, police fiber. We're not sure. So I think having a meeting real time during the day with the department heads and then making a report to the council makes a lot of sense. But identifying who's responsible on the municipal side would go a long way to reducing those numbers even further.
I agree. I think anything to move this issue forward and alleviate all these problems.
Council Patch.
Thank you, Mr. President. Stan, I think I can't blame you for this one. I think Verizon, it's Comcast wires, but I think it's RCN that's clipping them in, at the pole. And whenever they, I might be wrong, but I think there's quite a few of them. So, and they probably just wrap the Comcast wire around the pole. When
Councilor, I don't disagree with you that the competition for cable now has come to Revere, and you're going to see a lot of that, and it will be either Comcast or RCN. So I think you're right, but the key is to get the addresses into me, and I'll get them to the Comcast and RCN people as well.
Well, I won't be able to get to you. As you know, I'm retiring, but
my guest counselor is you'll find a way.
He'll do a good job. But anyways, and I want to thank you. I mean, we had a couple of disagreements over the years. I was there at that meeting 9 years ago, and it's come a long way, the double poles.
It has.
And it's for the better.
Yeah.
And thank you for your help.
No problem.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Zambudo.
Thank you, Mr. President. I totally agree with my colleague from Ward 2. We definitely got to get a handle on these municipal cables and find out who's responsible. There should be one person responsible for any municipal cables, in my view. But that's a great suggestion, and we should take him up on it. I remember, I've been here a long time, as everybody knows, and some people criticized me for being here a long time during the last election, but most people understand that I'm here because I do what's right. And most people appreciate that. And I remember when we had a disaster with double poles and we come up with this solution, and it truly has come a long way. And it's come a long way because of people like Stan, and it's come a long way because of cooperation and not confrontation. And we got this to a point where it works smoothly, and yeah, we can get upset. We've got a double pole for a couple of years or whatever. But I think when we started, we might have had 350 double poles or something at one point. I remember some astronomical numbers.
It was 700.
700, okay. See, I was being kind, 350. 700 double poles. We're down to 125, and I know some people think that sounds like a lot of double poles. That is wonderful progress because there's so much effort that goes into taking a pole down. There's so many people on a pole. Now we even got some anonymous people on the pole. We don't even know who the heck they are. So to come this far is just, it shows that we can work together and get things done. And that's what we've done over the years. And I'm proud of everybody, my colleagues and National Grid, Verizon, Comcast, now RCN. But what I do want to say is that there should be some sort of a rule. If RCN's taken a cable from Comcast, somebody's got to remove these cables. There's got to be some sort of a system. We can't just have cables hanging on poles. There's got to be a rule. If you're replacing Comcast, and you're responsible to make this clean, not let wires dangle. If you can't take Comcast wires, if RCN can't take Comcast wires, what they got to do is coordinate with them. We're taking one of your poles down. There's got to be a system, because I've heard this too much, that there's wires hanging on these poles, and it's definitely because of the switchover. So there's got to be some sort of a system, and I'm counting on you, Stanley, to help us come up with this.
Well, I'll talk to my colleagues.
Great, thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Keefe.
Thank you, Mr. President. I thank you, Stanley, for being here tonight. I just wanted to follow up on pole 2091. It's on Howard Street, and like I mentioned in the last time, it's a triple pole. I've gotten in touch with the fire department. They were the last to have some equipment that was pulled off. I think Telecom removed it, so.
Yeah, right now it's in Comcast court,
Right.
in talking to Comcast, or the communication from Comcast, is that they're working there. I think they had 17 poles, that's one of them.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll check with her and make sure that that's getting entered into the system so we can clear that up.
All right, appreciate it.
Okay.
Stan, thank you very much for attending. You're a party of one tonight, but you fulfilled the need of the city council.
No problem, I'm gonna pay back my friend Dan Cameron.
When you see Dan, you say, "What did you do to me, Dan? You left me alone."
Well, thank you very much, and thank you for your service, Councilor Patch, and the council as a whole. Thank you.
Thank you. Happy holidays. Madam Clerk?
Calendar item number 4, hearing called is ordered for the purpose of establishing the minimum residential factor in order to establish the fiscal year 2020 tax rate.
Any proponents, anyone wishing to speak in favor of this proposal? State your name and address for the record, please.
Dana Brangiaforti, Chairman of the Board of Assessors, here with board members John Berengia and Matthew McGrath. We're here tonight to ask the council to vote on the minimum residential factor. We would recommend that the council vote as they historically do, the 175% shift, which would give us a residential factor of 0.900673. Voting on that residential factor would give us the lowest possible residential tax rate. And if that is done, the residential tax rate for fiscal 2020 would be proposed to the Department of Revenue for approval, but that rate would be $11.26. That's down from last year, which was $12.11. On the commercial side, the rate would be $21.88. That's down from last fiscal year of $23.68. That's on the rate. Just to talk about what happened to assessed values a little bit. Overall, single families saw an increase of around 10%. Condominiums around almost 15% increase. 2 families just over 12%, and 3 families in apartment buildings saw the largest increase at about 18%. But given the reduction in the tax rate, to talk about what tax effect that has on homeowners, on average, single families would see about $106 increase, condominiums $187 increase, 2 families around $245 increase, and the 3 families, again, seeing the largest increase. They're looking at over a $600 increase tax-wise. That does differ throughout the city. It's not just a blanket. You know, some areas may see a little bit of a larger increase than the normal. Some may see a decrease below the average. It just kind of depends where you sit throughout the city. But, you know, we're opening up for questions.
Any other proponents wishing to speak on behalf of the residential tax rate? Seeing none and hearing none. Any opponents? Anyone wishing to speak in opposition? Seeing and hearing none. Any councilors wishing to speak? Councilor Morabito.
Thank you, Mr. President. So, did I hear that correctly? So, there's a forecast of 10% increase in value of assessments for
single-family homes. Yeah, which is actually down from last year. Last year, we were like 14% increase on the single families.
Because I don't understand how we can project an increase when all real estate professionals, all the sources are talking about potential recession and home values not rising and home values going down.
Sure, so that's the key word, is potential. We're working off of past. So for fiscal year 2020, we're analyzing calendar year 2018. So 2018 over 2017 saw that 10% increase. Potentially in the future, you know, we don't know what's going to happen, but we have to work off of, you know, the past. So we're about a year behind, calendar year behind.
What are you looking at to get those evaluations?
We're looking at calendar year 2018 sales of property.
So you're looking at, even though 2019 stayed stagnant, you're looking at 2018.
2019 will be for next fiscal year, but I'll be honest with you, peeking ahead, you know, I'm seeing a slight increase again. You know, and again, when you're listening to stuff on TV, that's nationwide. That's not
well,
specific.
I'm in the industry,
yeah,
so
absolutely.
I can tell you that there
Sure.
has been a decrease in home values.
We haven't seen it yet. So, but you know, in the future years, you know, we may see that.
I don't want to be the one to say I told you so, but we'll see next year.
All right.
Councilor Keefe.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, gentlemen. You know, I'm a little perplexed only because, you know, I know that we're doing a really nice job of keeping the rate down, but I was very much under the impression that we wouldn't be seeing an increase in the assessments based on the fact that they rose so much in the last few years. And I get it, we are behind, maybe behind with the statistics, but you know, I can't, and I certainly will not be in favor of any increases to the rates of the ratepayer. If we have to balance it with the percentage to bring it down and the assessments to either just slightly go up. And I know that the assessments have to be valid, but, you know, a lot of homeowners took a pretty significant and realistic increase in their taxes because of the value of their home, but I just can't see it going up anymore. And I don't think the residents want, obviously, no one wants to pay any more in taxes, but I think that we've reached a limit where, and I know this is only a public hearing tonight, we've reached a limit where we can't be increasing what the taxpayer has to dole out.
Sure.
You know, that's just my opinion.
No,
I wouldn't be
absolutely.
voting on any increases, even, you know, you'll have to drop the rate further, and I know that you're probably dropping it the most you possibly can, based on the law, but we have to figure out the assessments in the different.
Sure, absolutely. So, but just to kind of clarify, you wouldn't be voting on the assessed values. The assessed values are certified through the Department of Revenue. Essentially, what you're voting on tonight is to allow us to create a split rate, so to not have a single rate, but to have one rate for residential and one for commercial. And then you would be voting on the percentage of that shift. So doing the maximum shift at the 175% allows us to lower the residential rate to the lowest possible penny that we can under the law.
And I, like I said, I understand that you're lowering it the highest percentage you can lower it. And I understand what the assessment, but we have to figure out, and I know this isn't gonna be determined tonight, I don't wanna make this a drawn out conversation. We have to maybe do some back work to figure out how to even it out so that the residents are not paying more.
Right, so I mean,
next year.
Unfortunately, the values are the values, right? So we've done the
Well, the values
statistical
are-
analysis,
The
DOR
values
has
that-
certified those values.
We pay a
right?
company to take those assessments. They may be a little bit liberal in their assessments because,
They're not, so we're at actually around 95% of market value, you know, throughout the city. So we're not even up to 100 or even 110, which we're allowed to go to under the law. We're at typically around 95%, give or take a percent, between all the classes of the properties. And then again, on the other side, you know, it's driven by the levy. So the levy, you know, has a limit, and we're bumped up against that limit. You know, we're about $77,000 under, you know, what we're allowed to raise through the tax rate.
Right.
So that's, you know, that's where we're stuck at.
well, we have some work to do.
Council Powers.
Thank you, Mr. President. I think what a lot of people don't really understand is we have a budget, and there's a certain amount of money we have to raise to provide services, police, fire, education, general government, no matter, you know. And again, the money, the tax rate and the assessments are really based on, to some degree, what we have to raise in our budget. Am I correct?
I would actually say not to some degree it is. That's what it is, right?
Yeah.
So again, the values are the values. We know how much money we have to raise. Those get divided into each other and you get a tax rate.
so
To
if you-
simplify it as much as possible. But yeah, I mean, we have to raise the levy, which this year is 90.5 million.
Yeah, so if you lowered the budget, let's say $2 million in cuts, then you could lower your tax rate and/or combine your valuation also, correct?
Not the valuation. The values are the values. You know, the market plays out what the value is going to be. We have no control over that. All we're doing is we're spitting back, you know, we're doing statistical analysis and we're mimicking what the market valuations are. So there's no wiggle rooms on lowering or hiring the values. We're just, again, doing the statistical analysis, given the parameters that DOR, you know, tells us we have to be within. We're mimicking the real estate market of 2018.
Thank you very
Those are
much.
set.
I just wanted to bring that out there for the edification of the general public.
Thank you, Councilor Powers. Councilor McKenna.
Thank you, Mr. President. So my concern is there's three issues that the residents of Revere has, three major problems that they have, and they always talk about it. And one is the overbuilding, the second one is the traffic, and the third one's the taxes. I think people got creamed last year with the taxes. So I can't see myself, voting for more taxes
Right,
on
again,
top of what
the thing
we.
is, you're not voting for a tax increase. You're just voting on, should there be a split tax rate, yes or no, and what percentage should that split rate be?
Okay,
Again, the levy has already been set by the budget, which has already been approved by the city council.
For the point of
values have
information to
already
the
been
council,
certified by
it shall the
Department of
city
Revenue.
council adopt a minimum residential factor. So that's,
Right.
that's.
And,
that's
you know,
all we-
just to kind of go back to the tax increases, you know, they are substantially less than last year on average. You know, the two-family on average going up $245, and in some instances, like in Ward 6, you know, they're probably going to see decreases. Point of Pines most likely see decreases. You know, the middle part of the city is kind of where you see that average increase, and those are like probably around half of what the increase was, you know, last year. Again, I'm not happy to say somebody's going to get an increase, but, you know, that's what the numbers dictate. And again, on the single families, you know, probably less than what they saw last year. A lot of people are going to see a little bit of a decrease, if not just a nominal increase. I think where some of the more increases are going to come are the condominiums, which the last 3 years saw decreases, so they're probably going to see a little bit of an increase this year.
Councilor Zambudo.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Dana. Thank you, gentlemen. You do a great job. I didn't catch what was last year's tax rate.
Last year's residential rate was $12.11.
12.11.
And this
Okay.
year's 11.26.
Right, I got that.
It's down roughly 7%.
Very, very
on
good.
the rate.
So, obviously, you're controlled by law. We're here tonight to vote for the minimum residential factor. That's what I'm going to do. Thank you for all your information that you had to give here tonight. And I'm certainly going to support the minimum. Thank you.
Council Patch.
Thank you, Mr. President. Dana, good to see you here. You're just a messenger, I know. But, you know, people were, the assessments. Now, I know we're not voting on the assessments, but who does the assessments? Who's doing them right now?
Sure, so we contract Patriot Property to do the statistical analysis, which we then, as a board, review and approve, and then we submit that to the Department of Revenue for their approval.
Right. Am I wrong? Are you saying that the assessment has nothing to do with the tax rate? Are you saying the assessment has nothing to do with the tax rate?
So there's three components, right, to coming up with the tax rate. There's the levy, which is a product of the budget. There's the assessed values, and then you get a tax rate through that. So they work inversely. So if the assessed values go up, the tax rate goes down. If the values go down, the tax rate goes up, because you need to raise that money, you know, either way.
So have you already done the assessments?
Assessed values are all finalized by the Department of Revenue.
Well, you know, we just went through a messy election, and everybody was saying there was no tax increase. I don't remember a year there wasn't really a tax increase.
Right, so the budget increases
every
every year, right? And the levy increases every year under the law, 2.5%. So that's why we're never gonna really truly realize a tax decrease overall for the city. Individuals will see tax decreases and increases based on their values going up and down. But as a city overall, we're increasing it 2.5% every single year. We're going to the max.
Yeah, because, I mean, for years, the assessment was kept at a low compared to other cities. And it's really increased over the last couple of years.
We're mandated to be at 100% within 10%. We're around 95%, which is
Well,
every
you know,
city in town should be.
I understand what we're voting on tonight, and, you know, I just, when the next council votes on the tax rate, when you come forward and everybody starts yelling and screaming like they have the last several years, well, how do they allow that to them to do that? And that's one of the reasons why, you know, I think my colleagues are down as much as I am about people complaining about their tax rate. I complain about mine.
Absolutely.
And, you know, but I just think, you know, we got to be out there with the information before that rate comes out next year. the bills come out, when people see the bills.
Right, again, I mean, let's say we artificially deflate all the values. It's just going to increase the tax rate because we need to collect $90.5 million. Whether the tax rate is $11 or it's $22, whether your house value is $1 million or $100,000.
What did the budget go up in a year?
I'm not
All
sure
the
what the
people who
budget
are hired
increase. I just know that the tax levy, the amount of taxes we need to receive, went up to 2.5% plus our new growth.
Well, that's another issue, the budget. So, good luck. Thanks, the three of you, thank you for your hard work.
I just want to thank you for all your support over the years. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Novoselsky.
Thank you, Mr. President. Gentlemen, thank you for all your hard work. Just clarify the commercial rate for me.
Sure.
Old and new.
You got it. Last year was $23.68.
Yeah.
And this year's proposed is $21.88. So again, down roughly 6.5%.
The last thing that anybody wants to see in this world is an increase in their expenses, and especially in their tax rates and the ownership of their homes. Now, we talk about assessments. Now, I don't know if this rule still is in effect about the 1 year, 3 year, 10-year assessments. Is that about increasing it like 1%?
So we're interim year adjustments every year, full revals every 5 years now, and then the 10 years would be physical inspections of every property.
Okay, so, it's gonna, and so every 3 years, in between the 10, you're still gonna get.
We're on 5-year cycles now. On the Montmute, they changed it from 3 to 5.
So that's when their assessments go up?
So
Whatever it may be, 1%?
essentially back in 04, 5, 6, when the market was going crazy, and they used to just do 3-year revaluations, people were getting sticker shock because their values are just going up so much. So DOR instituted a mandatory interim year adjustments. So essentially, we're doing revaluations every year. It's just every 5 years, we're providing them with a little more information and background reports, such like that.
Is that 5-year like an external inspection, and then the 10-year is
Yeah,
internal?
it's drive-bys, exactly, drive-bys, and then more background checks to.
And then comparable sales?
We're doing that every year.
Every year.
Right.
Now, people, people say, well, my house is worth X amount of dollars. The city finds an assessment at, say, $300,000 of someone's house. But they could probably get $450,000 for their house.
Right.
So what's gonna happen is when that house is sold, the new rate jumps into the comparable sales. And now the rates are going up. And it's just hard to stop. We have to realize we have public employees in the city, service employees, that have union contracts. And we have to deal with those every 3 years, every 5 years. And then there's holdovers, so now we have to do retroactive 1 or 2 years and pay these people what they're due. So it's difficult to try and keep a balance of numbers. And, I feel, for everybody, but like was said, we're voting on the rate tonight, not on assessments. And when it comes to the budget, if people want us to cut the budget, realize they may see cuts in services because we may have to lose employees because of that. People are happy right now with the services they're getting in the city of Revere. I see it. I know a lot of the councils are DPW, fire, police, all our public safety people. They deserve what they get, and unfortunately, the assessments are in the people's homes are helping pay for that. So unfortunately, that's where we have to go, and it's up to the mayor to come in with a budget next year and as low as possible, and for us to scrutinize it and see what we can do to try and keep those numbers down. And I will plan on voting for this rate tonight.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Janino.
Thank you, Mr. President. I want to start by thanking you three gentlemen for everything that you do for the city and for the hard work that you put in for the taxpayers, right? And I know at the end of the day, you don't come up here saying you want to raise people's taxes. You're just doing your job and getting the numbers by that you have to by law, right? But as one of my colleagues mentioned, this is one of the biggest concerns in the city. People are getting priced out of their homes, and they're having a hard time paying their water bills, and they're having a hard time paying their tax rates, and it's hurting our most vulnerable residents. It's affecting our seniors, it's affecting people with disabilities, and it's affecting people in working class families. And do we know a solution to it right away? No, I don't as a city councilor, and I'm sure my colleagues don't. But there are things as a city council we need to do to to move forward, right? So when we look at the budget next year, we need to think about this conversation. And when we look at other things that we do and services that we offer, you know, we have programs for veterans and programs for seniors to help offset some of the tax rates. But we need to now look at expanding that to help more residents, because although we're helping some, if the prices are going up, we need to make sure that we're helping more people that fit under a bigger umbrella that are affected by these, because the reality is every year when these go up, people are just getting by and they're having a harder and harder time making these ends meet. And that's my concern, and that's, you know, most of the calls I get around this time of year, and I'm sure when those letters go out, we'll get even more. So I know as a council we're doing everything we can, and I just hope that we keep this conversation in the back of our mind next year when we look at the budget and, you know, find ways that we can not affect city services. We have one of the best fire departments and police departments and public works in the state, and I don't want to lose that, but there has to be a solution. So just I hope that people keep that in the back of their mind.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Morabito.
Thank you. At the end of the day, this is nothing personal about either any of you. You guys do a great job. But it's all about justifying the cost and justifying how you're getting to that taxation. So when Ward 6 got majority of a tax increase, and it was based on 2017, because you said this fiscal year, 2020's fiscal years, was based on 2018's. How is it that Ward 6 tax value is going to be assessed lower when the value in Ward 6 has gone up even more?
Right, it has gone up.
So how do you justify that? Please.
Their values increased as well. They just didn't increase as much as the others in the city. So each year, different pockets of the city see larger increases in values, again, based on the sales. We can't make up the sales, the market sets itself, right? So last year, Ward 6's values increased, 15, 16, 20% in some instances. So that's why they had to carry most of the tax burden increase for last year. This year, their values are up 8, 9, 10, 12%, right? So with the rate goes down 7% and their values are only up 8 or 9%, that keeps their tax bill, fairly even or up a little bit, down a little bit. In other areas of the city, they're seeing the 15% increase, or the three families are seeing the 15, almost 20% increase in sales. So they're going to be carrying the burden of the overall 2.5% increase. So values across the whole city are all up. Everybody's seeing an increased valuation, but it's just a matter of how high a percentage are they receiving versus the decrease in the tax rate. So if your value goes up 7%, but the rate's down 7%, your bill's about the same, right?
And I completely understand that, but, and I think people can accept, the voters and the people in Revere, they can accept that, okay, the city needs a revenue stream. We need to pay our firefighters. We need to pay our teachers. We need to pay our police officers. We need to pay our city hall. And we need revenue to provide these services. But at the same time, we need to be able to justify as a city, me as a city council, the mayor, as the CEO of this city, all of us as a council, we need to have justification. So for instance, we can't ignore market trends. We cannot ignore that mortgage rates are low, and they're keeping them low because they fear a recession. We cannot ignore that mortgage applications went down last week. They're down. We can't ignore that people are not paying over listing price anymore for a house that's on the market. All I'm saying is we cannot ignore market trends. Sure, we have to base our assessments on something, but we cannot ignore the factors. We cannot ignore those trends.
Right, but I think...
Because at the end of the day, sure, our city, we need a revenue stream, but so don't the people throughout the city living in their house, bringing their kids to extracurricular activities like sports, or if they want an extra quality of life, not only just for the leisure activities, but what about the necessities like putting food on the table? Or, some people have to cut back and be like, okay, you know what? We can't have steak tonight. Or we have to minimize everything, minimize what we do as a family, minimize what we can eat. So I think, everyone understands that when you look at the whole picture, that yes, the city needs the revenue, but they need their revenue as well. And $100 doesn't seem like a lot, but it may be to that one family.
Absolutely.
So.
Thank you, Councilor.
Is there
you ate a lot of turkey this week, and how can you tell?
No.
The city council is loaded for bits
Mr.
tonight.
President, with all due respect, I stay quiet up here a lot of times.
I understand. Go ahead,
But when
continue.
I'm passionate about something and I feel my voice should be heard and the people's voice should be heard, I want to speak. And I appreciate that you're allowing me this leeway. So, what? Everyone's looking at me. Wow. Okay, so anyway, so
go on forever.
why can't we have more of a commercial base? Why can't we adjust the residential factor so we put more of a burden on the commercial base and lessen it on the residential, whereas...
That's exactly what we're doing. That's exactly
But why
what
can't
you're
we
voting
increase
on.
it a little bit more?
And all due respect to
175% is
everybody,
the max under
members
the
of
law.
we appreciate you being at council, we appreciate you being passionate about it, but we could go on this subject through Christmas, through New Year's, and then can start all over again in July. It's a very controversial situation, but the bottom line is, if we have X number of dollars, somebody's got to pay for it, and it's you, the taxpayer. You made the decisions in November that you feel that things are going right, so now, and you're getting the quality of life that you want, so be it. You have to pay for these things, and so that's what we're doing tonight. And all we're doing tonight is that the city council adopt the minimum residential factor of 0.900673 for the purpose of establishing the tax rate for the fiscal year 2020. A roll call is in order. The gentleman wants to speak.
Pardon me, gentlemen. Sorry.
This is the front line that we should use for the Patriots, with the exception of John.
He can be the QB. Eric Lampadecchio, 43 Tapley Avenue. I think you guys did a great job explaining tonight the value of homes and how they play into the tax rate. At the end of the day, the decision to increase taxes was made back in June when the budget was increased. There's an inverse relationship between the tax rate and assessed values, and Dana, I think you did a really good job explaining that. I just want to be on the record as a proponent. They're doing the best job that they can to lower the tax rate for our residents based on the budget that was already decided on. So thank you guys for your explanation.
Thank you, Eric, and you guys feel free to give his house a double hit. Roll call's in order. Madam Clerk.
Roll call on, shall the city council adopt a minimum residential factor of 0.900673? Councilor Janino?
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Keefe?
Yes.
Yes. Councilor McKenna?
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Morbido?
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Novoselsky?
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Patch?
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Powers?
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Rizzo is absent. Councilor Rotundo is absent. Councilor Zambudo?
Yes.
Yes. And Council President Guanasso?
Yes.
Yes, the minimum residential factor has been adopted.
Madam Clerk, calendar item number 5.
Calendar item number 5 is a communication from the Board of Assessors requesting that the City Council adopt the minimum residential factor for the purpose of establishing the tax rate for fiscal year 2020.
Place on file.
Calendar item number 6, we're going into the zoning subcommittee report.
Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have the distinct displeasure of giving a zoning subcommittee report tonight because I feel that what was done in this committee not only was illegal, but it was disrespectful. So that's only an opinion. The bottom line is that the committee decided to overrule the chair and break the law to vote against a small cell antenna, which is against federal law. I know that's what's going to happen tonight. I will not participate in it. So the report is that the committee voted to vote down the small cell antennas. And so I offer that to you and to the full city council as what come out of the committee.
So this is for the 19-264, 19-265, and 19-266, is that correct?
That is correct.
Madam Clerk, we will take each application separately, and there'll be a roll call. And Councilor Keefe.
Thank you for some leniency. I just wanted to state again, at times, in Councilor Zambuda, you're a fantastic counselor, and I think we have a very mutual respect for each other, and I would never be disrespectful to you. But sometimes we do disagree and have varying opinions. I want to also point out to the viewing audience and the people here that I don't believe that the city council broke the law tonight. Certainly, we wouldn't have to vote on things if we had to break the law by voting against it. We have opinions, and that's what we're here to serve, the people of Revere. The citizens of Revere are speaking, and they don't want this. And some of it for reasons based on health. I again have mentioned based on the fact that I think they're unsightly. We have the entire fire department that has been rallying against this, and a lot of us are in support of the fire department. But no, we're not breaking the law. And I just want to point out again, the applicants left. They're not even in the council chambers. So who are we here to represent? We're here to represent the people. Okay, simple as that. We're not here to represent the applicants. And although we represent them both, they decided not to even stay for the rest of the meeting. And that to me is disrespectful. Okay? And I think that's disrespectful to you, Counselor. But that you can take that however you may. I will be voting against all three of these tonight. And if they want to take me to court, feel free. You know, that's their right. And I'll be happy to defend myself, or I'm sure that the city may have to, but I don't think that's going to be the case because it never will happen. And they'll move on to the next city in town, they'll move on to the next people that want to put poles up and do it. And when we have more information, maybe we'll be able to approve those poles, but simple as that. Thank you.
Roll call.
I've been in the city council for 32 years, and on a couple of occasions, the membership of a committee did overrule the chair and ask for a vote to be taken. So that's number one. And number two, we have voted in the past on satellite dishes, and we voted in the negative. And none of us are in jail. We never received a communication from the FCC saying we're in some sort of federal violation. We are doing it based on conscience and concern for our community. And if someone could take us to court and challenge that, I don't see how they can win in a court of law. So we're voting our conscience, we're voting for the wishes of the people we represent, and I don't think anybody can deny that. Councilor Janino.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just very briefly, I'm a member of the committee, and I want to really pay respects to the chairman. He does a great job serving that committee. And it's hard being the chair of a committee and the president of this council. And oftentimes, there are disagreements and there are differences in opinions. But at the end of the day, I do support the ward councilor on this issue. And I support my colleagues. And I think Councilor Keefe said it great in the first meeting. The main reason why we're against this is aesthetics. I would not want to sit on my back porch and look at this tower. I wouldn't want to sit in my bedroom window and look at the tower. I wouldn't want to wash dishes in the kitchen and see it either. It's on an area of critical environmental concern. It's on one of our marshes and wetlands, and it's in a quiet residential neighborhood, and it just doesn't belong. So I will be voting against all three of these also this evening, and I urge my colleagues to do the same.
Councilor Novoselsky.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, two of these locations are in my ward. And I have received numerous phone calls from people that they don't want it. And with due respect to them, they're the ones that I'm representing. They asked me to vote no against these things, and I plan on voting no against these things. There's two in my ward, like I said, one in Ward 1 And it just seems that everything is being concentrated down in our neighborhoods, down in this East Revere section. So I will be voting against it, and it'll be vote for my people down in Ward 2 and the Ward 1 people. Thank you.
I think everybody did a great job in representing their wards, and I think the city council are very attentive to what the needs of the community are. Madam Clerk, roll call.
Shall the city council grant the relief requested by the applicant to install a small, low-powered wireless antenna and associated equipment on an existing utility pole number 619-1 on Kimball Ave near 10 Walnut Avenue? Councilor Janino?
No.
No. Councilor Keefe?
No.
No. Councilor McKenna?
No.
No. Councilor Morbido?
No.
No. Councilor Novoselsky?
No.
No. Councilor Patch?
No.
No. Councilor Powers? No. Councilor Rizzo is absent. Councilor Rotundo is absent. Councilor Zambudo?
Yes.
Yes. And Council President Guanasso?
No.
No. The special permit is denied. Continue with the roll call,
Madam
Council
Clerk,
President.
you want a roll call on that?
Shall the city council grant the relief requested to the applicant to install a small, low-powered wireless antenna and associated equipment on existing utility pole number 4066 on North Shore Road near 151 VFW Parkway? Councilor Janino?
No.
No. Councilor Keefe?
No.
No. Councilor McKenna?
No.
No. Councilor Morbido?
No.
No. Councilor Novoselsky?
No.
No. Councilor Patch?
No.
No. Councilor Powers? No. Councilor Rizzo is absent. Councilor Rotundo is absent. Councilor Zambudo?
Yes.
Yes. And Council President Guanasso?
No.
No, the special permit is denied. And on the last special permit application, shall the city council grant the relief requested by the applicant to install a small, low-powered wireless antenna and associated equipment on existing utility pole number 3090 on the public right-of-way near 123 Crystal Ave? Councilor Janino?
No.
No. Councilor Keefe?
No.
No. Councilor McKenna?
No.
No. Councilor Morbido?
No.
No. Councilor Novoselsky?
No.
No. Councilor Patch?
No.
No. Councilor Powers? No. Councilor Rizzo is absent. Councilor Rotundo is absent. Councilor Zambudo?
Yes.
Yes. And Council President Guanasso?
No.
No, the special permit has been denied.
Mr. President, suspension of rules.
Suspension of rules hopes does not prevail. On all
All
three.
three, please, yes.
So ordered.
Calendar item number 9, communication from the mayor regarding ETP funds.
Shall the city council approve the following appropriations from the ETP fund? $8,500 from Revere Public Schools, TV school channel and video production equipment. $3,580 Revere Public Schools, IP encoding of video. A roll call.
On the appropriation, Councilor Janino?
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Keefe?
Yes.
Yes. Councilor McKenna?
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Morbido?
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Novoselsky?
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Patch?
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Powers? Yes. Councilor Rizzo is absent. Councilor Rotundo is absent. Councilor Zambudo?
Yes.
Yes. And Council President Guanasso?
Yes.
Yes, the ETP fund appropriations have been approved. Calendar item number 10, communication from the mayor regarding the Toys for Tickets program.
Upon payment of unpaid parking and the donation of a new unused toy or similar or greater value for the donation to a worthy charitable purpose, the parking director, beginning on December 4th, 2019, and ending at the close of business on December 19, 2019, shall waive up to $30 per ticket. That's $30 per ticket. Maximum 5 tickets unpaid parking fines, as provided in the Revere Revised Ordinance Section 10.48.160. Notwithstanding the foregoing of the parking director shall not waive any surcharge imposed by the Massachusetts Registry of Motor Vehicles, RMV, if the parking director has notified the RMV of an unpaid fine and a non-renewal of license and/or registration has been recorded by the RMV. This is a voice vote. On the motion, all in favor? All opposed? So ordered. Good motion. And the director is here if he would like to say something. If not, bring your toys. Mr. Director?
I'll make it quick. We ran this program last year. It was a very successful program. It helped a lot of needy children. We raised a lot of toys. And it also helped people with tickets that owed excessive fines. And I think it was a great program that the mayor had created, and hopefully we'll run this annually in the future.
Okay.
Thank you.
Now, you get your rest, and you rest this Christmas, because come January, we're looking forward to that resident parking.
It'll be done, Council.
Thank you,
It'll be done.
Mr. Director. I appreciate it.
Calendar item number 11, communication from the mayor informing the city council that the parking meters will not be enforced on Saturday, December 7th, Saturday, December 14th, Saturday, December 21st, to encourage local shopping this holiday season.
Place on file.
Calendar item number 12, communication from the city auditor relative to the Sonny Myers Park appropriation.
When you come to the podium, please state your name and address for record, please.
Richard Viskey, City Auditor, 281 Broadway.
Welcome.
Just following up on a resolution that was voted by the council with regard to a grant the city received with the construction of Sonny Myers Park. We had committed some matching funds, and this request for an appropriation is to match those funds so that we can start the project in the spring. So happy to answer any questions if we have any.
It's a roll call on the request.
Shall the city council approve an appropriation from the Community Investment Trust account to the Sonny Myers Park account in the amount of $129,220? Councilor Janino?
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Keefe?
Yes.
Yes. Councilor McKenna?
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Morabito?
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Novoselsky is absent. Councilor Patch?
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Powers? Yes. Yes. Councilor Rizzo is absent. Councilor Rotundo is absent. Councilor Zambudo?
Yes.
Yes. And Council President Guanasso?
Yes.
Yes, the appropriation has been approved. Calendar item number 13, communication from the city auditor relative to the tree removal program.
Thank you. Rich Viskey, City Auditor, 281 Broadway. This is a request to supplement the tree removal program that we have. Director of Public Works is also here to speak more of it, but due to some of the storms we had this fall, we've had a lot of tree work done. That account is depleted, so we're looking to get another $50,000 so that we can take care of the backlog of the tree services that are in the city right now.
Sounds good to me. Shall the city council approve the appropriation from the Capital Improvement Stabilization Fund to the DPW tree removal account in the amount of $50,000? A roll call.
Councilor Janino?
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Keefe?
Yes.
Yes. Councilor McKenna?
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Morabito?
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Novoselsky?
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Patch?
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Powers?
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Rizzo is absent. Councilor Rotundo is absent. Councilor Zambudo?
Yes.
Yes. And Council President Guanasso?
Yes.
Yes, the appropriation has been approved. Calendar item number 14, communication from the city auditor requesting an appropriation to the building maintenance and repair account.
Thank you. Richard Viskey, City Auditor, 281 Broadway. Again, these are, we've had some significant repairs done over the fall to several of our buildings. The Recreation Department had some chimney work and some HVAC issues. We've also done some repairs at the Legion Building. And again, this account is pretty close to depleted for building maintenance, so we just want to backfill the cost of those repairs so that we can get through the rest of the fiscal year in the black. Happy to answer any questions.
Councilor Novoselsky.
Thank you, Mr. President. Through you to Superintendent, if I may, relating to the Legion Building, was that the leaks that we were talking about?
Yes, this was some of the leaks, and there was also some work done to ISD, some upgrades that were necessary in that office.
What about that broken window that was?
Yes, that's part of it. It hasn't been repaired yet, but that's part of this, yes.
Yeah, because that was broken from the tornado.
Right, that's part of it.
Okay. And is the repair of the stairs or the ramp involved in that?
No, we have a separate appropriation for $50,000. We're in the process of hiring an architect to design a new set of stairs, and once that's done, we may be asking for some additional funding to make that handicapped accessible in the front of the building.
Okay, thank you very much for the
Councilor
update. Yep.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm all set with this, but I just want, while you're up here, Paul, I want to thank you over the years. You've done that tree removal, plus your work as a superintendent, and you always answered the call. You were always there. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and enjoy your retirement.
We certainly don't want to keep the superintendent here too late, because tomorrow, I understand, there's a big storm coming, and we want to make sure the superintendent gets all that sleep. You hear that, Colleen? We want him to rest peacefully tonight.
Thank you.
Shall the city council approve the appropriation from the capital project reserve account to the DPW building maintenance and repair accounts in the amount of $56,969.47? Roll call.
Councilor Janino?
Yes.
Councilor Keith?
Yes.
Councilor McKenna?
Yes.
Councilor Marabito?
Yes.
Councilor Novoselsky?
Yes.
Councilor Patch?
Yes.
Councilor Powers?
Yes.
Councilor Rizzo is absent. Councilor Rotundo is absent. Councilor Zambudo?
Yes.
And Council President Guanasso?
Yes.
It's approved.
See you guys. Motions. Calendar item number 15.
Motion presented by Councilor McKenna that the mayor request the water department to set up a connection for the installation of several catch basins on the lower end of Pearl Avenue. Currently, there are no catch basins, and flooding occurs during heavy rains, high tides, and storms, inundating houses and the street. Adding catch basins will help residents deal with the ongoing water problems.
Do we have a letter from the city engineer?
Yes.
And would you like to read it into the record, please?
It's lengthy, Council
It's
President.
lengthy?
Yes.
Oh, so then we can waive the reading then. Waive the reading. Councilor McKenna?
Thank you, Mr. President. So I had a talk with Nick Rysam, and there are grants coming into for Pearl Ave and to address these problems in the Beachmont community, so I'm satisfied.
Okay, thank you, Councilor McKenna.
Thank you.
On the motion, all in favor, all opposed? So ordered.
And there's one late motion presented by Council President Guanasso that the mayor request the DPW to install Go Slow signage on Revere Street near the curve at St. Anthony's Church in the interest of public safety. There have been numerous accidents at this location.
To my colleagues and to anyone in the audience and those at home, this is one of the most dangerous blind turns we have. I'm not sure that Go Slow is appropriate enough. Maybe we could have Go Slow dangerous turn or something like cars exiting, because we've had numerous accidents there, and over this past week, and we've had a pedestrian that was hit there. So we need to get some attention to that area, and we need it as soon as possible. Councilor Zambudo.
Thank you, Mr. President. I congratulate you on this motion. I'm thinking that we might need something like a flashing Go Slow light, not just a Go Slow sign. I think it needs to be an electronic one, because that is probably one of the worst intersections in the city.
It's a blind turn coming out of Wade Street.
So
You hit
I think
right on.
a friendly amendment would be that we appropriate what it takes to do that.
Okay.
To put two
So
of them.
noted.
Mr. President?
There should be two of them.
Councilor Novoselsky.
I agree with Councilor Zambudo, but also I think maybe we should, I know we're doing the city lights over, the street lights. In that area, you should request that the LEDs be 400 watt rather than the normal 100 watt lights.
That's a point well taken.
To light up the neighborhood.
That's a point well taken, based on the fact that that also proves to cause what the accidents that are occurring there. It's not well lit, so please note that. Yes, put a separate motion into that. 400. Seeing no further business before
Mr. President.
Councilor Novoselsky.
Personal privileges, if you want to call it that, a couple PSA announcements. Just let everybody know on December 12th, I'm sorry, there will be a lighting ceremony down at Costa Park for all on board 2 people. And that'll be at from 4:30 to 6 o'clock. Santa will be there, and we'll have hot chocolate and gingerbread cookies and stuff like that. And also on December 26th, we'll be doing our annual menorah lighting on City Hall lawn in front at from 4:30, 4 o'clock to 5 o'clock. So we invite everybody there, and I know the city has some other events going on December 7th, so.
Mr. President?
Council Zambudo.
If I might, obviously, the city does have December 7th is the tree lighting. It's also the annual Santa Walk that starts at 3 p.m. And the tree lighting is at 4:45. Then we have the Beachmont tree lighting, which is Sunday the 8th at 5 p.m. That's at Cummings Park on Crescent Ave. And there's another, I might as well go through the whole thing. There's a Coast for Kids event, the Drift 500 Ocean Ave at 6 p.m. on the 11th of December. My colleague mentioned the Costa Park tree lighting, December 12th. The annual Robert Mara Memorial Sounds of Christmas concert, December 15th at 4 p.m., St. Anthony's Church. The annual menorah lighting, Tuesday, December 26th at 4 p.m. That's my public service announcements.
Thank you, Councilor. The Revere City Council will stand adjourned until December 9th. Thank you for your attendance.